The sound of the heavy iron lock clicking shut echoed through the dim cellar like a final judgment. Nova pressed her back against the rough stone wall, her breath coming in shallow bursts, trying to ignore the sharp ache spreading through her chest. They said the moon goddess never made mistakes when she wove the mate bond. Two souls, perfectly matched, drawn together across any distance. But right now, locked beneath the pack house floorboards, while music and laughter floated down from the mating ceremony upstairs, Nova felt like the goddess had forgotten her name. She wasn't supposed to be here. 3 hours earlier, she'd still believed she had a place in this world. 3 hours earlier, she'd stood in her small bedroom upstairs, smoothing the simple gray dress she'd worn for years because anything nicer was deemed unnecessary for someone like her. Then Eleanor had appeared in the doorway, her smile thin as a blade. "You won't be attending tonight," her stepmother had said, voice calm, almost kind. "Serafina needs the spotlight. The Alpha King is coming, Nova. The Alpha King. Do you understand what that means for this family?" Nova had felt the first tug then, a strange pull behind her ribs, warm and insistent, like someone calling her name from far away. The mate bond awakening. She'd opened her mouth to protest, but Eleanor had already stepped forward, two of the pack's enforcers appearing behind her like shadows. They hadn't even let her scream until the cellar door slammed. Now the pain was worse. Each beat of her heart sent another wave of longing through her, the golden thread of the bond stretching taut, pulling toward the man somewhere above who was meant to be hers. Every second he stood up there accepting congratulations from the wrong woman, the thread burned hotter, threatening to snap. Nova slid down the wall until she sat on the cold dirt floor, knees drawn to her chest. Dust coated her palms. Her wolf stirred weakly inside her, whining, confused. "Why aren't we with him? Why does it hurt so much?" "Because they stole you from him," Nova thought bitterly. "Because Serafina is wearing the silver gown that should have been mine, smiling the smile I practiced in the mirror when I was 16 and still believed stepfamily could mean something real." She closed her eyes and tried to remember the last time she'd felt like she belonged. Her father, Elias Silvercrest, had been a respected beta before the border skirmish took him. When he married Eleanor, Nova, only 11, had been hopeful. A new mother. A little sister on the way. Serafina had been sweet at first, clinging to Nova's hand during pack runs, asking her to teach her how to braid flowers into her hair. But sweetness faded fast when Eleanor decided Nova's alpha bloodline, diluted though it was, might one day draw attention away from her golden child daughter. By the time Nova was 15 and shifted for the first time in front of the pack, everything had changed. "You're making Serafina look small," Eleanor had hissed afterward, dragging Nova into the hallway by her arm. "Your father might have carried strong blood, but you're nothing now, an obligation. Your job is to lift Serafina up, not stand in her light." So Nova shrank. She stopped shifting in public. She wore hand-me-downs. She stayed quiet at gatherings, lingered at the edges, became the shadow sister no one noticed. She told herself it was temporary, that one day someone would see her. Tonight was supposed to be that day. The mate bond surged again, sharper this time, stealing her breath. Somewhere upstairs, the Alpha King had arrived. She could feel him, his presence like a storm rolling in, dark and powerful and inevitable. Her wolf lifted her head inside her chest, ears pricked, tail wagging despite the pain. "He's here, our mate is here." Nova pressed her palm to the floorboards, as if she could reach through them. Then she heard the voices. Eleanor's tone, honey-sweet and practiced. "Your Majesty, may I present my daughter, Serafina Voss. She has prepared herself especially for this evening." A pause, heavy, loaded. Then his voice. Deep, resonant, carrying the kind of authority that made every wolf in a room drop their gaze instinctively. "Let me see her clearly." Nova's heart slammed against her ribs. Another pause. "You're not hers." The words cut through the music like a blade. Nova froze. "I don't understand, Your Majesty," Seraphina's voice came next, high, trembling just enough to sound innocent. I am the daughter of this house, the moon goddess. I can feel my mate. The Alpha King's tone had gone dangerously quiet. Her heartbeat is close. Her scent is in the walls of this house, but it is not you. Nova's breath hitched. He knows. He knows I'm down here. Elinor's voice slid in, smooth and placating. Perhaps the bond is confused, Your Majesty. Seraphina is of age, beautiful, accomplished. There is no one else here who. Do not lie to me. The temperature seemed to drop. Nova felt the shift in the air even 3 floors below. A ripple of raw power rolled downward, pressing against her skin, making her wolf whine in recognition and need. My mate is afraid, he said, each word carved from stone. I feel her fear like it's my own, and if you've hidden her from me, you will learn exactly why lesser packs whisper my name in the dark. Nova's hands shook. He could feel her. Even through stone and wood and lies, the Alpha King could feel her. Her wolf surged forward, clawing at the inside of her mind. Call him, show him, let him know where we are. But her throat was raw from earlier screams. Her voice had cracked and died hours ago. She couldn't shout. She couldn't bang on the door again. Her knuckles were already split and bleeding. Then she remembered something her father had told her once, years ago, when she was small enough to sit on his lap during pack meetings. The mate bond is more than feeling, he'd said, tapping her chest gently. It's a bridge. If you're ever lost, if you're ever in danger and your mate is near, you can send your need through it. Push everything you have into that golden thread. It will reach him. It always reaches him. Nova closed her eyes. She found the thread, bright, burning, alive, and wrapped her awareness around it like a fist. I'm here. I'm below you. Locked in the cellar. Please. Please come for me. The response was instant. A roar shattered the night. Not human. Pure wolves. Furniture crashed overhead, people screamed. The music died in a screech of broken strings. Footsteps thundered, fast, purposeful, unstoppable. Where is she? The Alpha King's voice had turned guttural, edged with fury that vibrated through the floorboards and into Nova's bones. Elinor tried again, voice cracking. Your Majesty, please. Where is my mate? A silence. Then a reluctant whisper, the cellar. A crash so violent the entire house shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Nova scrambled backward as something massive struck the cellar door above. Wood splintered. Iron screamed as it was torn free. The reinforced bolt, 4 inches thick, installed by her father himself, ripped out of the frame like it was cardboard. And then he was there. Silhouetted in the doorway at the top of the stairs, stood the largest wolf Nova had ever seen in human form. 6'6" at least, shoulders that blocked most of the light, dark hair falling past his collar, eyes blazing molten gold, his wolf fully at the surface, staring straight down at her. The moment their gazes locked, the mate bond snapped taut and locked into place. Nova gasped, hands flying to her chest as heat and power and belonging flooded every inch of her. It was like breathing for the first time, like every missing piece of her soul had finally clicked home. The Alpha King staggered 1 step, gripping the doorframe so hard the wood cracked under his fingers. Then he moved. He descended the stairs in a blur, too fast for someone his size, boots barely touching the steps. When he reached her, he dropped to one knee, hands hovering for a heartbeat before gently cupping her face. You're hurt, he rasped, thumbs brushing the tear tracks and dirt from her cheeks with a tenderness that contrasted the violence still rolling off him in waves. They locked you down here, during our ceremony. Nova couldn't speak. She could only stare at him, this terrifying, magnificent wolf who just torn through reinforced oak and iron to reach her. His scent wrapped around her. Cedar smoke, storm wind, and something darker, wilder, home. I'm sorry, she finally managed, voice cracked and small. I tried to get out, You have nothing to apologize for. His thumbs stilled, his gold eyes darkened to near black with rage. They tried to steal you from me, they will answer for it. He scanned her quickly, taking in the torn dress, the blood on her hands, the way she trembled. Are you injured anywhere else? The Alpha King asked, voice low, urgent. Nova shook her head. Just scared, and the bond, it hurt so much when I couldn't reach you. A growl rumbled deep in his chest, not at her but for her. The sound vibrated through her bones, and made her wolf sigh in relief. He stood, offering his hand. Nova took it. The moment their palms met, energy surged between them, bright, electric, perfect. The bond sang. Her knees nearly buckled. He steadied her instantly, arms sliding around her waist. Come, he said softly. We have people upstairs who need to understand what happens when they stand between an alpha king and his fated mate. He guided her up the stairs, keeping her close to his side, shielding her from the splintered wreckage of the doorframe. They stepped into chaos. The pack house's grand hall looked like a battlefield. The ceremonial arch had been knocked sideways. Candles lay shattered, chairs overturned. Pack members stood frozen, eyes wide, necks already bared in instinctive submission. In the center stood Eleanor and Seraphina, both pale, both trembling. Eleanor's practiced composure had cracked wide open. Seraphina's silver gown was rumpled, mascara streaking her cheeks. The Alpha King stopped at the threshold, Nova tucked protectively against his side. Every eye in the room locked on them. Your Majesty, Eleanor began, voice shaking. The Alpha King didn't let her finish. You locked my mate in a cellar, he said, each word quiet lethal. You tried to pass your daughter off as the one chosen by the moon goddess. You defied sacred law for ambition. Eleanor's mouth opened, closed. You knew exactly what you were doing, he continued. You knew the moment I walked in that she wasn't mine, and still you lied. Seraphina whimpered, please, we didn't mean. You meant every second of it. His gaze cut to her. You stood there wearing the dress that belonged to my Luna. You smiled while my mate suffered below your feet. He turned back to Eleanor. Under pack law, and under my law, interfering with a mate bond carries exile. Attempting to deceive the Alpha King carries permanent banishment from every territory under my protection. Eleanor's knees buckled. You can't. I can, he said simply, and I am. He looked toward the line of his royal guard standing near the wall, 6 massive wolves in black, expressions stone. Captain Rowan, he called. A tall man with silver at his temples stepped forward instantly. Escort Eleanor Voss and Seraphina Voss to the border. They have until dawn to gather what they can carry. After that, they are forbidden from every packland under my rule. This house and everything in it now belongs to my mate as restitution. No, Seraphina cried, lunging forward. 2 guards caught her arms gently but firmly. Eleanor stared at Nova, really stared, for the first time in years. You, she whispered, voice breaking. You. Nova lifted her chin. Yes, she said quietly, me. The Alpha King tightened his arm around her waist. Take them, he ordered. The guards moved. Eleanor and Seraphina were led away, Eleanor stiff-backed, Seraphina sobbing. Silence fell over the hall. The Alpha King turned to the gathered wolves. The ceremony was interrupted, he said. We will finish it now, properly. He looked down at Nova, gold eyes softening. If you're willing. Nova felt the bond pulse between them, steady, warm, cert. She nodded. I'm willing. He smiled, small, fierce, breathtaking. Then let's begin again. He led her toward the damaged arch. Pack elders hurried forward to right it. Candles were relit. And as the moon goddess's chosen witnesses gathered once more, Nova felt, for the first time in her life, like she was exactly where she belonged. The elder wolf stepped forward slowly, ceremonial staff tapping once against the polished hardwood floor. Candlelight flickered across his lined face, catching the silver in his hair as he raised both hands. Alpha King Damien Blackthorn, he intoned, voice carrying through the stunned silence of the hall. Do you accept Nova Silvercrest as your true fated mate, chosen by the moon goddess to stand beside you as your equal, your Luna, through every storm and every dawn? Damien never looked away from Nova. His hand stayed locked around hers, thumb brushing slow circles over her bruised knuckles like he could erase every mark they'd left on her. I do, he said, the words ringing clear and unshakable. With everything I am. The elder turned to Nova. His gaze softened just a fraction, the first gentleness anyone in the room had shown her in years. Nova Silvercrest, he continued, do you accept Damien Blackthorn as your true fated mate, to honor the sacred bond the moon goddess has forged between your souls, to stand as his partner, his Luna, in strength and in mercy? Nova felt the golden thread between them pulse once, steady, warm, alive. She lifted her chin. I do, she answered, surprised at how strong her voice sounded after hours of screaming into darkness. The elder raised his staff high. By the will of the moon goddess and the ancient laws of our kind, I declare this bond sealed. What she has joined, let no wolf tear apart. Power rolled through the room like a sudden summer wind. The mate bond flared bright behind Nova's ribs, no longer aching, no longer pulling, just there, complete. A second heartbeat beside her own. She gasped softly. Damien's grip tightened, his own breath catching as the sensation hit him too. Then he turned to her fully, cupped her face with both hands, and kissed her. It started gentle, reverent almost, like he was afraid she might vanish if he moved too fast. But when Nova rose onto her toes and kissed him back, pressing closer, something in him broke open. His arms banded around her waist. He deepened the kiss until the world narrowed to heat and cedar smoke and the taste of storm on his tongue. When they finally parted, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. Mine, he murmured, voice rough with emotion. Yours, she whispered back. A quiet ripple of relieved murmurs moved through the gathered wolves. Necks bared again, not out of fear this time, but respect. Submission to the new reality standing in front of them. Damien straightened, keeping one arm securely around Nova's shoulders. We leave for the royal stronghold tonight, he announced to the room. My mate has endured enough in this house. He glanced down at her, gold fatting slowly from his eyes until they were storm gray again. Still intense, still commanding, but softer when they looked at her. Do you want anything from here? He asked quietly, only for her ears. Clothes, keepsakes. Nova looked around the hall she'd spent most of her life trying to disappear in. The overturned chairs, the shattered candles, the place where Eleanor and Seraphina had stood smiling while she bled below their feet. She shook her head. Nothing, she said. There's nothing here I need anymore. The Alpha King nodded once. Then we're gone. He guided her through the parted crowd, his royal guard falling into formation around them without a word. Outside, the night air hit Nova like a slap, cool, pine-scented, alive with the smell of damp forest and distant rain. 3 sleek black SUVs waited in the circular drive, engines already running, headlights cutting sharp beams through the dark. Damien opened the back door of the lead vehicle and helped her inside before sliding in beside her. The moment the door closed, the world shrank to just the two of them. The driver pulled away smoothly. Gravel crunched under the tires. The pack house shrank in the rear window until it disappeared behind trees. Nova let out a long, trembling breath. Damien turned to her immediately. "You're shaking," he said, concern sharpening his voice. "I'm okay," she lied, then corrected herself. "I'm not okay yet, but I will be." He reached over and took both her hands in his, dwarfing them completely. "You don't have to be okay tonight," the Alpha King told her gently. "You just survived years of being erased. You survived being locked away from your own mate bond. You get to feel whatever you need to feel." Tears welled up fast and hot. She didn't fight them this time. "I thought no one would ever come for me," she admitted, voice cracking. "Not like that, not tearing down doors." Damien's thumbs wiped the tears from her cheeks. "I felt you the second I crossed the territory line," he said quietly. "Your heartbeat, your fear, it was like someone had reached inside my chest and squeezed. When they presented that other woman," his jaw flexed. "I knew instantly she wasn't you. The bond was screaming at me to find you." Nova leaned her head against his shoulder. His warmth seeped through her torn dress, steadying her. "How did you know where to look?" she asked. "Your call through the bond." He pressed a kiss to the top of her head. "One second I was demanding answers. The next I felt your desperation hit me like a physical blow. I could see the cellar in my mind, stone walls, iron bands, darkness. I just moved." She let out a watery laugh. "You didn't just move. You demolished half the doorway." "Small price," he muttered. "I'd have torn the whole house down if I had to." They rode in silence for a while, the SUV eating up miles of winding forest road. Nova watched the trees blur past the tinted windows, feeling the mate bond hum contentedly between them now that they were touching. Eventually, she spoke again. "What happens when we get to the stronghold?" Damien shifted so he could see her face. "You rest, you eat, you heal." He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "Tomorrow we start slow. I'll introduce you to the council as my Luna. We'll hold a formal claiming ceremony in front of the full court so there's no question who you are. After that," he shrugged one massive shoulder. "After that, you decide how fast or slow we go. You want your own rooms, you get them. You want time alone, you take it. You want to learn pack politics, strategy, history. I'll teach you myself." Nova swallowed. "And if I want more?" she asked softly. His eyes darkened. "Then we take that too," he said, voice dropping an octave. "Whenever you're ready, no pressure. The bond guarantees we're compatible. Everything else we build together." She nodded, relief loosening the knot in her chest. They arrived at the royal stronghold just before dawn. Nova had heard stories about it her whole life. The towering stone fortress carved into the side of a mountain, modernized with glass walls and heated floors, surrounded by ancient forest on 3 sides and a sheer drop on the 4th. But seeing it rise out of the mist took her breath away. Guards snapped to attention as the convoy rolled through massive iron gates. Damien helped her out, keeping her close as they climbed wide stone steps lit by soft lanterns. Inside, the great hall smelled of cedar and old magic. Wolves, some in tactical gear, some in formal robes, bowed deeply as they passed. A tall woman with short silver hair and sharp eyes approached. "Captain Mara," Damien said by way of introduction. "My head of security." Mara's gaze flicked to Nova, assessing, then warmed slightly. "Welcome, Luna," she said, dipping her head. "We've prepared the Eastern suite for you. Fresh clothes, food, medical if you need it." Nova managed a small smile. "Thank you." Damien led her up a sweeping staircase, down a long corridor lined with portraits of past alphas and lunas. He stopped at double doors carved with crescent moons and pushed them open. The suite was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the forest canopy, a massive 4-poster bed draped in deep green velvet, a sitting area with a roaring fireplace already lit. Nova stepped inside and stopped. "This is beautiful." "It's yours," Damien said simply, "for as long as you want it." She turned to him. "And you." He smiled slow, a little wicked. My rooms are across the hall, close enough to feel you through the bond, far enough to give you space. He stepped closer, voice dropping. Unless you'd rather I stay. Nova's heart kicked hard. Not tonight, she said honestly. I need to breathe for a minute. He nodded without hesitation. Then I'll be right across the hall if you need me. He leaned down and pressed the softest kiss to her forehead. Sleep, eat, cry if you have to. Tomorrow we start building something new. He left quietly, the door clicking shut behind him. Nova stood in the center of the room for a long moment, listening to the crackle of the fire, feeling the mate bond pulse gently like a second heartbeat. Then she walked to the window, pressed her palm to the cool glass, and watched the first pink light of dawn touch the treetops. For the first time in years, she didn't feel small. She felt like the beginning of something massive. 3 months passed in a blur of new routines and quiet miracles. Nova woke each morning to sunlight pouring across the bed, no longer afraid of what the day might hold. She trained with Mara in the mornings, learning self-defense, pack formations, how to read a wolf's body language from 50 yards away. Afternoons were spent in the archive rooms with Damien's senior advisor, poring over treaties, territory maps, histories of old rivalries. Evenings belonged to Damien. They walked the mountain trails together, talking about everything and nothing. He told her about the years he'd waited for his mate, how he'd started to believe the moon goddess had passed him over. She told him about shrinking herself year after year until she almost forgot she had a voice. He never rushed her. He never pushed. But every time their hands brushed, every time he tucked her against his side on the leather couch in front of the fire, the bond grew warmer, stronger, more certain. One night, 4 months after the cellar, Nova found him on the balcony overlooking the forest. He turned the second she stepped outside, like he'd felt her coming. You're up late, he said, opening his arms. She walked straight into them, pressing her cheek to his chest. I couldn't sleep, she admitted. I kept thinking about Aliner and Serafina. Damien tensed slightly. Border Patrol turned them away again last week. Aliner's been telling anyone who will listen that I fabricated the bond, that I stole you from your rightful family. Nova pulled back to look at him. Are you worried? He snorted softly. Let her talk, the truth has a way of cutting through lies. He cupped her face. Besides, anyone who matters already knows exactly what happened that night. Nova searched his eyes. I don't hate them, she said quietly. Not anymore. I just feel sorry for them. They spent so long trying to keep me small because they were afraid of what I might become. Damien's expression softened. That's why you're going to be the strongest Luna this territory has ever seen, he murmured. Because you understand mercy, and mercy from strength is the most powerful kind there is. She smiled, small, real. I love you, she said simply. The words hung between them, bright and unafraid. Damien's breath caught. He leaned down until their foreheads touched. I love you too, he answered, voice rough with feeling. More than the territory, more than the crown, more than anything I've ever known. He kissed her then, slow, deep, claiming. When he pulled back, his eyes were molten gold again. Move in with me, he said. Permanently. No more across-the-hall distance. I want to wake up to you every morning. I want to fall asleep with your heartbeat against mine. Nova didn't hesitate. Yes. The claiming ceremony happened under a full moon 3 weeks later. The entire court gathered in the great courtyard, hundreds of wolves from every pack under Damien's rule. Torches blazed along the stone walls. Drums beat low and steady. Nova walked out in a gown of midnight blue silk that shimmered like water under moonlight. Damien waited at the center of the raised platform, already in black ceremonial leathers, eyes locked on her like she was the only thing in existence. The elder raised his hands. Tonight we witness the final claiming, he declared. Alpha King Damien Blackthorn and his Luna, Nova Silvercrest. Damien stepped forward. He took Nova's hands, turned her palms up, and placed a single silver dagger between them. By blood and bond, he said, voice carrying across the courtyard, I claim you as mine, my mate, my equal, my Luna, forever. Nova lifted the dagger, pricked her finger, then pressed it to the center of his palm. By blood and bond, she echoed, I claim you as mine, my mate, my equal, my Alpha King, forever. They pressed their palms together. Blood mingled. The bond roared to life, brighter, fiercer, unbreakable. Damien pulled her into his arms and kissed her in front of the entire court. Cheers erupted, howls rising into the night sky. When the ceremony ended, he scooped her up and carried her through the cheering wolves, straight to their shared chambers. That night they completed the bond in every way, slow, reverent, wild. And when the moon finally set, Nova fell asleep wrapped in her mate's arms, listening to the steady beat of his heart matching hers. She was no longer the girl in the cellar. She was Luna. She was loved. She was home. The royal stronghold never slept completely. Even at 3 a.m, soft footsteps echoed in distant corridors, guards changed shifts with quiet murmurs, and somewhere far below in the kitchens, someone always kept coffee brewing for the night patrols. Nova had grown used to those small sounds. They felt like the heartbeat of a living territory. Tonight, though, the halls felt different, lighter, as if the entire mountain knew something had shifted forever. She stood on the wide stone balcony of their shared chambers, barefoot against the cool floor, wrapped in one of Damien's black silk robes that swallowed her frame. The moon hung low and heavy, silver light spilling across the endless forest below. She could still feel the echo of the claiming ceremony in her blood. The way the pack's howls had risen like a tide when Damien marked her, teeth gentle but sure at the base of her neck. The bond thrummed now, steady and warm, no longer a desperate pull but a constant, living connection. Behind her, the bedroom doors opened softly. Damien stepped out wearing only loose gray sweatpants, hair still damp from the shower. Moonlight carved sharp shadows across his bare chest and shoulders. He paused when he saw her, eyes tracing the way the robe slipped off one of her shoulders, exposing the fresh mate mark that glowed faintly silver against her skin. You're supposed to be sleeping, he said, voice low and rough from the late hour. Nova smiled without turning around. I was thinking. About everything. She finally glanced over her shoulder. About how I used to lie awake in that old bedroom wondering if anyone would ever look at me like I mattered. And now, I'm standing on the balcony of an Alpha King's stronghold wearing his robe, wearing his mark, and the entire territory knows my name. Damien crossed the distance in 3 long strides. He came up behind her, arms sliding around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. His chin rested on the top of her head. They've always known your name, he murmured. They just didn't have permission to say it out loud until now. She leaned into him, letting his warmth chase away the last chill of memory. Elinor tried to call again yesterday. Mara told me, said she was crying on the line, begging to speak to her daughter. The Alpha King's arms tightened fractionally, not in anger this time, just protectiveness. And I told Mara to hang up. Nova exhaled slowly. I don't hate her, I really don't, but I don't owe her forgiveness on her timeline, or at all. Damien pressed a slow kiss to the side of her neck, right over the mark. You don't owe anyone anything anymore, least of all her. They stood like that for a long minute, wrapped in each other and moonlight. Then he spoke again, quieter. I almost lost you before I even knew you. Nova turned in his arms, looking up at him. You didn't lose me. You found me. You tore through a reinforced door like it was paper because you refused to accept anything less than the truth. His gold-flecked eyes searched hers. I would do it again, 1,000 times. I'd tear down anything that tried to keep you from me. She reached up, fingers tracing the hard line of his jaw. I know. A small, fierce smile curved his mouth. Come inside, he said. It's cold out here. He led her back into the warmth of their chambers. The fire had burned low, casting soft orange light across the massive bed, the deep rugs, the wall of bookshelves filled with centuries of pack history. Damien sat on the edge of the mattress and pulled her down onto his lap, arms looping loosely around her hips. Tell me what you were really thinking about out there, he said. Nova hesitated, then rested her forehead against his. About how different everything feels now. I used to think being Luna would mean wearing fancy dresses and standing silently beside you at ceremonies. But it's not like that at all. No, he agreed, it's not. You let me sit in on council meetings. You ask my opinion on border disputes. Last week you had me negotiate the new trade terms with the Cascade Pack, and you didn't step in once, even when they tried to lowball us. Because you handled it better than I would have. Pride thickened his voice. You saw the play they were making before anyone else did. You turned their greed into leverage. That's not just Luna work, that's leadership. Nova's throat tightened. I never thought I'd be good at any of this. You were always good at it, the Alpha King said firmly. They just never let you try. She swallowed hard, blinking back sudden heat behind her eyes. I started the sanctuary program last month, she whispered. For orphan pups. The ones whose families get lost in skirmishes or rogue attacks. We've already taken in 12. They have tutors now, therapists who understand trauma, a whole wing of the East Barracks remodeled just for them. Damien's hand slid up her back, slow and soothing. I know, I saw the reports. You've been working late every night on it. I want them to feel seen, she said. The way I never did. He tilted her chin up until their eyes met. They will, because you're making sure of it. Nova searched his face. The hard angles softened by firelight, the absolute certainty in his gaze. I love you, she said again, because some things needed repeating. Damien's expression cracked open, raw, unguarded joy. I love you too, Nova Blackthorn. He used her new name deliberately, letting it settle between them like a vow. My Luna, my mate, my everything. He kissed her then, slow at first, savoring, then deeper, hungrier, until she was clinging to his shoulders, and the robe had slipped completely off one arm. When they broke apart, both breathing unevenly, he rested his forehead against hers. Stay with me forever, he murmured. She laughed softly, the sound bright and free. I already promised that. Blood and bond, remember. Yeah, his smile turned wicked, but I like hearing it. Nova leaned in and kissed the corner of his mouth. Forever, Damien, no take-backs. He growled low in his throat, pleased, possessive, and rolled them both onto the bed. Later, much later, when the fire had died to embers and the moon had slid behind the mountain, Nova lay curled against his side, head on his chest, listening to the steady thunder of his heart. She traced lazy circles over the faint scars on his ribs, old battle marks from before she knew him. Do you ever think about that night, she asked quietly, the cellar? Every damn day, he admitted. I wake up sometimes and reach for you before I'm fully conscious, just to make sure you're still here. I do the same thing, she confessed. I still dream about the dark sometimes, but then I feel you through the bond and it goes away. Damien pressed a kiss to her hair. It'll keep fatting, the good days will drown it out. She believed him. Because they were building something real, stronger than any lie, any betrayal, any locked door. The next morning, the council chamber was packed. Wolves from every corner of the territory had come to hear the Alpha King's quarterly address. Banners hung from the rafters, black and silver, emblazoned with the crescent moon crest. Damien stood at the head of the long table, black suit jacket open over a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Nova sat to his right, not behind him, not in the shadows, but beside him, equal. When he spoke, the room stilled instantly. "Three things," the Alpha King began, voice carrying without effort. "First, the border treaty with the Cascade Pack has been renegotiated. Terms favor us. That work was led by Luna Nova." A ripple of approving murmurs. "Second, the Sanctuary program is now permanent law. Any orphan pup under our protection will be housed, educated, and healed at Pack expense." Again, Luna Nova's initiative. More nods, louder this time. "And third," Damien turned to look at her fully, eyes softening in front of the entire council. "My mate is carrying our first child." The room exploded. Howls, cheers, fists pounding on tables in celebration. Nova felt heat flood her cheeks, but she didn't look away from him. Damien reached over and took her hand, lacing their fingers together on top of the table for everyone to see. "When the moon goddess chooses," he said, loud enough for the back row to hear, "she chooses well." Later that night, they walked the upper gardens alone. Snow dusted the evergreens, first light fall of the season. Nova wore a heavy wool coat over her sweater. Damien had simply slung his arm around her shoulders, sharing body heat. She stopped under a massive cedar and looked up at him. "A baby," she whispered, hand drifting to her still flat stomach. Damien covered her hand with his own. "Our baby," he corrected gently. Nova laughed, soft, disbelieving, happy. "I'm going to be somebody's mom." "You already are," he said. "To 12 pups in the East Wing who call you Luna and look at you like you hung the moon. This one just gets extra privileges." She rose onto her toes and kissed him, slow, sweet, full of promise. When she pulled back, her eyes sparkled. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For never giving up on me, even when I'd given up on myself." The Alpha King shook his head. "You never needed saving, Nova. You just needed someone to kick the damn door down so you could finally step into the light." She smiled, bright, fearless, whole. "And now I'm standing in it." He pulled her close, tucking her against his chest as snow continued to fall around them. "Yeah," he murmured into her hair, "and you're never stepping back into the shadows again."